We'll call this council meeting to order at 6 p.m. We have, first of all, I need a motion for the adoption of the minutes, please.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held at City Hall on February 10th, 2020 be adopted as circulated.
Moved by Councillor Buds and seconded by Councillor Meyer. All those in favor? And that's carried.
That's better. Yes. Good.
Technical difficulties. There, that's better. We have no delegations this evening. However, we have a number of public hearings. Before we open the public hearings, I just want to outline the process for public hearings for folks that haven't been here before. First of all, I will ask if anyone is present to speak in favor of the application. The applicant will then speak first, and then anyone else that's in favor of the application. Any letters received in favor will be read out and into the record. I will then ask if anyone is present to speak against an application, and those that are against will speak. Letters against, if any are received, will be read out and read into the record. And finally, the applicant can respond to any concerns brought forward. And council is able to ask questions at any time. So the first public hearing, we'll open the public hearing for conditional use PC 520. This is for Kennedy Guy at 151 4th Avenue Northeast. And this is City Planning and Economic Development. Councillor Meyer?
Do we not have the public hearing first, Your Worship?
Yep. So is there anyone here to speak to the hearing? Do you want to take the podium, please, and give your full name for the record?
Kennedy Guy.
Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Okay. I guess I'm just here to answer any questions regarding the zoning. My understanding of it is that where I'm currently located is zoned for grooming, but not for daycare, and I do both. When I signed my lease 2 years ago, I wasn't aware of this, but ever since it's been brought to my attention, so I'm here to talk a little bit about that. For those of who don't know me, my name is Kennedy Guy. I've owned my business here for about 2 years now, in total of 3 years. I started in McGregor and expanded here to Portage. Some of the things that I've done in the community is I've worked close with the Kids Can Cope program with my therapy dog. I've created job opportunities for young girls. I did work placement with, been involved with the high school with the work placement program. I've created volunteer opportunities with the high school where I currently have 6 high school students that come and volunteer out of my business. I have volunteered at the local Red River College with my therapy dog, who's a registered therapy dog with the St. John Ambulance. I've hosted Paws Adopathons. I earned the 2018 Entrepreneur Award with the Portage Chamber. Me and my staff have walked in the Lions Club fundraiser walks, as well as the 2018 and the 2019 Terry Fox walks. I've talked in events with Community Futures Heartland, which include the Women in Business, becoming a business owner to the grade 9 students, and their Kids Biz camps in McGregor and Portage as well for 2 years. I have read at multiple elementary schools here in Portage for the I Love to Read Month, volunteered on my time with my therapy dog, Nevaeh.
Okay. Did anybody from council have questions? Councilor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship. Ms. Guy, I guess the only question I would have at this point in relationship to the conditional use is I do get the dog grooming part. I'm not quite sure what dog training or doggy daycare would look like, I guess, within this area. Could you maybe just elaborate on that a little bit and tell me what it would look like from the outside?
Yeah, for sure. So doggy daycare is different than boarding. Boarding is overnight and dogs stay in for long periods of time. Daycare is just where you drop your dog off while you're at work. So you drop them off in the morning, you pick them up at night. So My hours in Portage are Tuesday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. So that is when my business is operating in Portage. And so our facility is just inside, and people drop their dogs off. They play inside. Throughout the day, we take them for walks on our property line, around the grass and around the building, and we take them out for bathroom breaks every couple hours, things like that. So that's kind of what the doggy daycare is. The training we do Tuesday evenings. It's from 6:30 till 8, and again, majority of that is indoors in my business. But if the weather's nice, then we're usually outside no more than for about 30 minutes at a time.
Super. Thank you, Your Worship.
Any further questions from council? Okay, well, thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Is there anyone else that wants to speak in favor of the application? Okay, we have some letters to be read out.
We do. So we received 49 letters of support, but they are grouped together. Some of them were worded the same, so they were form letters. So I'll read each wording of the form letters, and I'll list who signed those letters. So the first letter said, as a loyal customer to Kenny's Canine, I fully support her doggy daycare, training, and grooming facility. We love coming to her location at 151 4th Avenue Northeast and would like to see her business continue operation in our community. That one was signed by Aldine Morose, Dan Nell, Katie Knowles, Beth Finnbogason, and Barry Morose. Second letter. Please accept this letter of support and confirmation that I am aware of the operation of Kenny's Canine at 151 4th Avenue Northeast, and that Kennedy Guy, the owner of Kenny's Canine, is applying for a conditional use. If accepted, I understand that this business will be operating at 151 4th Avenue Northeast. That letter was signed by Linda Wall, Chris Polindit, and Brad J. Nadon. The third letter said, please accept this letter of support and confirmation that I am aware of the operation of Kenny's Canine at 151 4th Avenue Northeast, and that Kennedy Guy, the owner of Kenny's Canine, is applying for a conditional use. I understand that this business is currently operating in our community, and I fully support it to continue to operate at the current location. That letter was signed by Tracy Lenhart, Pat Calder, Alana Downey, Sarah York, Janice Penner, and Neil Van Art. Letter 4. Kenny's Canine has been in business in Portage la Prairie for almost 2 years, and as a customer to Kenny's Canine, we hope to continue to see her thrive as a young woman and entrepreneur. Her business location is 151 4th Avenue Northeast, is something that I support. Signed by Nicole Stadnick, Kaylee Miles, Quinn Zander, Eric Harding, and Bernard and Sarah Tess. The fifth letter said, it is with pleasure to support the operation of Kenny's Canine located at 151 4th Avenue Northeast in Portage la Prairie. Kenny's Canine has been operating at this location for almost 2 years, and as a customer of Kenny's Canine, I fully support her business and operation located at 151 4th Avenue Northeast. That one was signed by Jennifer Nichols, Shelley Pohl, and Jean Rugg. The sixth letter, I fully support the business of Kenny's Canine. As a customer, we are pleased with this business location in our community of Portage la Prairie. Signed by Jennifer Sadney, Zandra Johnston, Randy Joseph Lilly, and Dennis P. Johnston. The seventh letter, I would like to show my support for Kenny's K9 Doggy Daycare, Training and Grooming Facility at 151 4th Avenue Northeast in Portage la Prairie. I would like to see her business be able to continue operation at her current location within our community. I feel she offers services that our community members like to enjoy and use. Please accept this letter as a show of support for Kenny's Canine. And that letter was signed by A. Hebert, Delinda Guy, Vaughn Guy, Wendy Edinger, Christine Penner, Chris Verway, Rochelle Lindwall, Chelsea Lewis, Sean Terrace, Velma Rogers, Dale Lewis, Caitlin Spearing, R.C. Rogers, and Alicia Casto. And then we also received some individual letters written and submitted. First one, Denise Lambles. I am writing this letter to show my support for Kenny's Canine to remain in business at its current location, 151 4th Avenue Northeast, Portage la Prairie, Manitoba. I don't live in Portage, but I do go there often to shop and support the local businesses. I don't feel that Kenny's Canine is causing a negative impact on the city of Portage la Prairie at its current location. I am a dog owner, and my dog attends Kenny's Canine Daycare on a regular basis. While my dog is at daycare, I do my errands and shopping in Portage la Prairie and spend money in the community. The current location of Kenny's Canine is ideal for me as it is centrally located, making it easy to get to even after driving in from Gladstone. I would be happy to provide more information if required. Denise Lambles. The next one by Eric and Colette Lee.
Your Worship, if I may interrupt it just at this point in time as a quick point of order. I just want to point out that this letter is also from an individual that's named on the application. I trust it's appropriate to read out a letter of support for yourself.
They're not the applicant. They're the owner of the building, but not the applicant.
They are on the application.
Named as the owner. Maybe Randy should answer, but.
Sorry, and
Fraser?
just a clarification, because it does say applicant owner Kennedy Guy, Eric, and Colette Lee is on the our report to council.
So Kennedy's the applicant and Eric's the owner, I think. So
Okay.
wait,
Okay, so it is appropriate then. Okay, just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
okay, so they said, it has come to our attention that Kennedy Guy is applying for a conditional use agreement to allow for the continued operation of her dog grooming business, Kenny's Canine, at 151 4th Avenue Northeast. We are in favor of this proposal. Kennedy has proven herself as an excellent business person over the 2 years she has rented from us. Kenny's Canine was awarded the 2018 Portage la Prairie Chamber of Commerce Outstanding Entrepreneur Award for their outstanding accomplishments within the community. Kenny's Canine has other locations in McGregor and St. Claude, but chose to expand into Portage in 2018. She has operated out of this location since then. It is an excellent location for her because she has ample parking and a large side yard. This allows her employees to walk the dogs without crossing the street into any residential areas. She has invested a lot of time and money into improving her shop. We are pleased that the City of Portage la Prairie works hard to encourage businesses to expand and relocate to our great city, and we look forward to Kenny's Canine continuing to thrive in our city. Sincerely, Eric Lee and Colette Lee. The next one is from Karen Giffen. As both a dedicated dog owner and a fellow local business owner, I would like to express my strong support of Kennedy Guy and her business, Kenny's Canine, located at 151 4th Avenue Northeast, Portage la Prairie. Kenny's Canine serves a legitimate need in Portage and its surrounding areas, providing an essential service to dog owners in our community. In addition to the benefits to customers and their dogs, this small business also contributes to our local economy. As a fellow small business owner, I know how important it is to keep our jobs and our money local. Kennedy Guy started this business from the ground up as a young entrepreneur. Her entrepreneurial spirit, along with her strong community involvement, grew a successful business and confirms that Kenny's Canine is an integral part of our community. I again strongly support this business. Sincerely, Karen Giffen. The next one from Caitlin Frank. I am writing to demonstrate my support for an important local business, Kenny's Canine, 4th Avenue location in Portage la Prairie. We have been utilizing the services offered at Kenny's Canine on a weekly basis since its opening in the spring of 2018. Kennedy and her team have dedicated many hours to making this a special place for dogs in Portage la Prairie. Kennedy and her team demonstrate good business practices. Kennedy works hard to ensure the safety of all dogs, customers, and the public. By maintaining control of the animals at all times, as well as the cleanliness of the building inside and out, Kennedy is a good neighbor, offering volunteer opportunities, employment opportunities, and various services for her clients. She creates an atmosphere of community with her customers. Kennedy operates a business that many other small businesses should be modeled after. It is my understanding that the suitability of this business to the current location is in question. In my opinion, not only is this business a great fit for the location and the city of Portage la Prairie as a whole, but that disrupting the operation of Kenny's Canine in the current location would be detrimental to many patrons of this location and to the business overall. Thank you for your consideration in this matter. Sincerely, Caitlin Frank. The next one from Kelly Human. I am writing this letter in support of Kenny's Canine, getting approval from Town Council to be able to operate in the zone they are located in. The bylaw states it has to be a hospital, taxidermy, or kennel. My understanding is Kennedy is applying for conditional use of this zone. Kennedy runs a daycare and grooming place for dogs. She is a young lady trying to make a go of a business that is so helpful to many of us. She has set up the building to accommodate both the grooming center and daycare for the animals. Her staff are so caring and loving to all of our pets. If Kennedy is not approved, she would have to rezone. I'm not so sure she would, as she has put so much work into this building, and it would be costly for her to relocate. This would be such a loss for many people in Portage la Prairie who use this facility, and I believe a big loss for our city. I am asking you to please consider her for approval. Thank you, Kelly Human. Next one from Lauren Tessier. As a frequent and loyal customer to Kenny's Canine, I fully support the facility and all that comes with it. I myself and my dogs love coming to her location at 151 4th Avenue Northeast and would like to see her business continue and operate in the community. Sincerely, Lauren Tessier. Next one from Lisa Christoph. I am writing this letter on behalf of Kenny's Canine Grooming. I switched to this groomer as I heard she was very passionate about animals and gives top-notch service. I also like the location as it is easy to access, and there's always parking, along with a nice green space for my dog before and after his grooming. When I had to take my dog to Saskatchewan Avenue, I could never find parking, and I would have to walk him along someone's boulevard to go out before and after his grooming. The green space is always kept clean, and I feel like they have high standards about caring for our community. They help teach people how to be respectful pet owners, which is a valuable asset to our community. Their location is ideal, as it is not easy to find a building that is conducive to their needs along with a green space. They were also just awarded the Outstanding New Entrepreneur Award along with countless volunteering hours in our community. Portage la Prairie needs business that are willing to make our city a better place, and I hope that it stays here for a long time. Lisa Christoph. The next one from Manon Tim Shell. Please accept this letter of support and confirmation that I am aware of the operation of Kenny's Canine at 151 4th Avenue Northeast, and that Kennedy Guy, the owner, is applying for a conditional use. If accepted, I understand that this business will be operating within 300 meters of my home. Sincerely, Manon Tim Shell. Last one from Shelley Zander. I'm writing this letter of support for Kennedy Guy at Kenny's Canine. I support her business being available at her current location at 151 4th Avenue Northeast, Portage la Prairie. Kennedy offers a valuable service to a large number of people in Portage and surrounding areas. Shelley Zander.
That's all the letters. Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak against the application? Your name, sir? My name
is Robert Nicholson.
Would you take the podium, please?
Ladies and gentlemen, I live right across the street from Kenny's Canines. All those letters are really nice, but none of them live across the street and listen to the constant door slamming of doors that, I don't know, maybe somebody didn't teach people how to close doors properly, because standing there, slamming the door 2 or 3 times is not a necessary thing. I realize it's a steel door on a cement building, so the echo is a little loud. I have asked the owner, Eric Lee, to put a proper door control in there. I guess he has, but people still have control of that door and give it the extra slam when they close it. I drive a tow truck. I could be up at 4:30 in the morning, which is one of my arguments here. I have gotten home at that time, gone to bed, to be woken up at 6:35, not 7:35, which is another complaint. I understand that they aren't supposed to be opening up until after 7 o'clock in the morning. So I don't really see where 6:35 kind of plays into that. As for taking the dogs for a walk when they go to the bathroom, I don't know, walking 5 feet outside the door and standing there with the dog on the leash doesn't really classify as taking a dog for a walk to go to the bathroom. I don't know if anybody here has a dog, but if you take them out and just stand there most of the time, they don't go to the bathroom. if Mr. Lee is nice enough to put a fence there to cut down on some of the noise, let the dogs actually have a place to run. I did hear a couple complaints last year with the grass being long and the animals collecting wood ticks, and I understand that that's like something we all have to put up with. I mean, I keep my lawn about that short just because of that. And yeah, it's when she first opened up, people were showing up again quite early in the morning, and I mean, it may not be the best neighborhood in the world, but we don't have roving bands of thieves, so setting your alarm to go honk honk while you're in a building for 5 minutes, it's a little unnecessary. She shows up in the morning by herself, and there isn't hardly a noise. I don't hear doors being slammed. I think it's quite nice that she is respectful enough to do that. I kind of rather think she has to talk to some of her, I don't know if it's the people that are bringing dogs. I've seen people go in there without a dog and just pull up, and it seems to be a little, I don't know if they're just being annoying in the neighborhood, or because they're again, I don't know. I drive a 2006 truck that's been well used, and I don't have to slam the door to bother my neighbor. And these people seem to drive a whole lot newer vehicles than I do, and I really don't see where the door slam has got to come into play. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong. There may be a reason why all the door slamming has to be done, but I kind of rather think that it could change, and that's all the more I actually have to say. So I thank you all for allowing me to do so.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nicholson. Are there any questions from council? Are there any letters opposed that need to be read out?
No letters, no.
Okay, thank you. So your name for the record, ma'am?
I said Cindy Pate. I strongly object to the business at 151 4th Avenue Northeast in Portage also for a long 2 years that she's been there. Kenny's Canines. We strongly object to the change of zoning to M1 light industrial for a dog grooming business that is not needed in Portage la Prairie, Manitoba. There are already great establishments in our city who have impeccable track record for excellent customer service and proper care of animals. The business is listed as follows: Doggy Daycares, Mac Kennels, and Prairie Land Kennels. Dog Training, Prairie Burn Canine Academy, Paws.
Ma'am, could you
Kennel Club.
could you comment on the particular property that you're opposing, please?
151 4th Avenue Northeast.
Okay.
I live right directly across the street.
Okay.
At 152 4th Avenue Northeast. We've also got dog grooming, Best West Pets, Pet Value.
Sorry, ma'am, could you explain why you're opposing this application at this location, not the other locations?
Kenny's Canine still slams the door and lets their animals out of the building without leashes. The bylaw officers have probably never followed up on the continuous infractions of Kenny's Guy and her troop. Kenny's Guy does not need to be open at 6:30 a.m. because there is more than enough doggy daycare facilities in Portage la Prairie area that are already open at this time. If you must have these people working across the street from this residential area, Eric and Colette Lee must build a high privacy fence to include the front door within this fence. Since Kenny Canine staff, friends, family, and clients continue to slam the vehicle doors and the building doors, Kenny's Canines can have the sound resounding off of their own new privacy fence when they slam the doors. Also, since Kennedy Canine, her boyfriend, staff, and clients come out with animals not on a leash and continuously ignore the city bylaws, the animals are within a closed fence. Kenny's Canines is only a dog grooming business in a residential area, with the exception of Clearview Creations. This company has supplies for grooming animals and does hands-on training with their customers in these supplies. All the other businesses that I was trying to finish in Portage la Prairie, they are where they should be, on Saskatchewan Avenue in rural areas. Thank you for your time. I've got 15 copies here for everybody.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council? At this time, the applicant can respond to any concerns that have been raised.
Okay, so I'll just kind of read off some notes that I made from some of the comments. As for the door slamming, when I did my renovation coming up on a year ago, when, sorry, I can't remember his name, Nick, I think, came across the street and threatened to weld my door shut, the very next day we did put a soft close on, and you guys and him are all more than welcome to come test the door. It is actually, it is a soft close door that we did put on. As for some of the other complaints, for the dogs, as for bringing them out, we do have all our dogs go on and off leash. We have a section in our shop that's labeled shop leashes to take dogs in and out. I can't comment on my customers closing their doors. That's not something I can control. As for myself, I do work long hours. My business doesn't open at 6:30. I just choose to go in at 6:30 to work. And as for the fencing part, I have come to City Hall about fencing that area in. It's actually city property. So Eric Lee can't fence that in, nor me, because trust me, I would love to have a fenced in area, but we can't because it's not our property. As for the comments on other businesses and moving, I have looked into other businesses to buy, but I've run into some zoning difficulties with that just because of the zoning rules. But I would love to expand my business in Portage, but I've just kind of run into some difficulties with that. As for other complaints, I've never actually had a formal complaint brought to me to be given the opportunity to fix the issues that she has mentioned. We have run into a few more serious issues where police have had to be involved. And I do have the file numbers for that you can call them on if you want that. I personally have been threatened, and my underage volunteers have been threatened as well too. And I do have video proof on that, but I think I've listed everything of the complaints.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from council? Okay, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Be it resolved, and I so move that the public hearing for conditional use PC 520 for Kennedy Guy at 151 4th Avenue Northeast now be closed.
Moved by Councillor Meyer and seconded by Councillor Buds. All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
Okay, Council, there's a report in front of you from the Planning and Economic Development Committee. The request, of course, is for the conditional use, which we've heard about tonight in regards to the applicant, Kennedy Guy. The issue is to allow for a similar use to an animal kennel in an M1 light industrial zone. Our alternatives to approve the conditional use as presented, to approve the conditional use application with conditions, or of course to deny the conditional use application. A brief background, but I'm sure you've heard most of it tonight as well, as Kennedy Guy has applied for a conditional use to allow for a similar use to an animal kennel in an M1 light industrial zone. The applicant would like to have a doggy daycare, doggy training, and dog grooming business in an M1 light industrial zone. The application was circulated to the various city departments. There were no concerns. Public notices have been sent to all property owners within a 100-meter radius. I'm not sure how many of the letters in favor were within that 100-meter radius, but you did hear those, and in addition, you did hear to the one complaint. That said, it's an administrative recommendation, and I so move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the conditional use application of Kennedy Guy to allow for a similar use to an animal kennel in an M1 light industrial zone at the property 151 4th Avenue Northeast, which is legally described as lots 12 and 16/29 Plan 17 in the parish of Portage la Prairie.
Moved by Councillor Meyer and seconded by Councillor Buds. Any questions or comments on the motion? Councillor Draycott?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a clarification, we are discussing changing light industrial zone to include the doggy daycare. However, this property is able to operate as a dog grooming facility at the moment.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor? And that's carried. We'll open the variation order for PC 620. This is for AJ and Kamal Agarwal at 61 Saskatchewan Avenue East. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application?
Your Worship, excuse me for interrupting. Point of order. I'm going to remove myself for this from this public hearing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Buds? You're taking over?
Are you opening the hearing though?
Yeah.
Worship?
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application?
Good evening. My name is Komal.
Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Okay. As you know that we own 61 Saskatchewan Avenue and we are planning to open a restaurant and bar over there. And we've already spoken to Planning District and they requested us to put forth a request for variance for parking. So that's the request, and any questions that you may have, I'm ready to answer.
Okay, thank you. Council have any questions? Just at this point in time, just questions from council. Are there any letters to be read into the record?
No letters.
Is there anyone here to speak against the application? Steve, do you mind stating your name for the record, Steve?
Steve Bergson is my name. I'm a trustee for Trinity United Church. Certainly we applaud the intent of anybody for another business on Saskatchewan Avenue. However, we certainly do not support the application for variance at 61 Saskatchewan Avenue East. Parking stall requirement for 110 patrons is, 28? You're requesting a reduction to 5. Once staff park, that becomes 0. Restaurant parking in this immediate area, will severely compromise parking for City Hall, the Presbyterian Church, the CIBC Bank, the Bank of Montreal, and probably even Trinity United Church. With the elimination of paid parking on the avenue, suddenly parking around City Hall will become severely limited because it will all be taken up by restaurant parking. Given the inherent parking problems on the avenue, which will occur, we and neighboring businesses would be extremely disappointed if this variance was approved because of the consequences for both City Hall and the neighboring businesses. We just thank you for your consideration. Think about it carefully before you approve it, because I think there's inherent problems. I thank you for this opportunity to address council, but certainly there's extreme limitations to that approval of that variance order. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bergson. Did council have any questions? Are there any letters to be read into the record against?
No letters against.
And finally, if the applicant wants, the applicant can respond to any concerns that have been brought forward. AJ, can you just state your name for the record, please?
My name is Ajay, and I'm the owner of the 61 Saskatchewan Avenue. Regarding one of his objection regarding staff occupying the parking, we have another parking at the behind the Olina Jewels, so we can have restriction for our staff that they can park their vehicle behind Olina Jewels. Regarding 26, if you see the restaurant business, it has the capacity of 110, which means 26, 27 parking. but you will not find even a single restaurant which is 100% full. The time when the restaurant is full is Friday night, Saturday, some on Sunday. The restaurant is not the business which is for Monday to Thursday. So it doesn't, like there is no question where you can take the parking of city or any other business. Plus it's a evening business. The restaurant will open at 11 o'clock, but most of the people comes in the evening. In the daytime, if you go to any restaurants, you only find 1 or 2 people, 3 people, 4 people at the max. Plus we are into downtown, right? There's no space for parking. We have so many restaurants on the downtown already, which does not have parking. You can name all of it. Same is the story with the Winnipeg. This month, there is another restaurant open for 150 seaters. They only have 1 parking. So, because of the rules, it shows 26, 27 parking, but it is not required that much for that business, except Friday nights or Saturday.
Okay, thank you. Did council have any questions?
Be it resolved, and I so move to close the public hearing for variation order PC 6-20.
Moved by Councillor Buds and seconded by Councillor Wall. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
Okay, so we know that the applicant is applying for a variance to allow the parking stall requirements of 28 stalls to be reduced to 5, and the applicant wishes to open a restaurant and minibar for approximately 110 patrons. We did hear that that is kind of the maximum that's allowed in that space. So Ajay and Kamal Agrawal are applying for this order, and there's an apartment over the rear portion of this building, and as per the City of Portage zoning bylaw, 1 parking stall is required for this apartment. The applicant has indicated that there's an agreement with the tenant that indicates the tenant does not require a parking stall. So that's for that tenant. I think it's noted that doesn't necessarily mean for every tenant that could occupy that space. The applicant has indicated the mini bar will be small area with room for approximately 10 to 15 people, and it will be located at the rear of the main floor area and take up approximately 28 square meters. It should be noted, however, that this building used to be a coffee shop, and it did have frequent patrons going through that area, and it did have seating for about 50 people. There was never a variance applied for this building, it should be noted as well. Sorry, not for that building, but for that business. So as per usual, this application was circulated to various city departments with concerns expressed over whether 5 parking stalls indicated will fit into the proposed parking area and the possible lack of room for garbage collection area. And we do have the measurements of that space. Again, we go back to a little bit of precedent. City Council has approved the variation request for another restaurant in the downtown area that required 7 stalls, and we did approve that down to 2. And as well, Council approved a variance request for a retail business to reduce a required 18 parking stalls down to 14. And on the other side of the coin, City Council denied a variation request for reduced parking for a bar in the downtown area to reduce from 37 down to 14. So the Portage Planning District is in the process of the review of the city and zoning bylaw and are looking at the requirements for parking stalls in the C2 zone with the possibility of having separate parking requirements for the C2 zone, but that's basically for information purposes because we're in the process of doing that. So public notices have been sent to all property owners within a 100-meter radius, and as we do here, that we did have 1 property owner come here this evening. So it is a recommendation of the committee, and I so move that the Council of City of Portage la Prairie approve the variation request of Ajay and Kamal Agrawal to vary the parking stall requirement of 28 stalls to be reduced to 5 stalls at the property known as 61 Saskatchewan Avenue East, which is legally described as Lot 6, Plan 12, Parish of Portage la Prairie.
Moved by Councillor Buds and seconded by Councillor Draycott. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. We'll open the public hearing for variation order PC 820. This is for Melco Developments Limited, number 35, 33, 25, 23, and 21 Melco Drive. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Final call. Anyone here to speak to the hearing? Okay. Entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Be it resolved, and I so move that the public hearing for variation order PC 8-20 for Melco Developments Limited, in respect to lot 35, 33, 25, 23, 21 Melco Drive, now be closed.
Moved by Councillor Meyer and seconded by Councillor Buds. All those in favor? And that's carried.
As soon as it loads up here, Your Worship. Okay, Council, in front of you from the Planning and Economic Development Committee for Melco Developments Limited. The issue is to vary the front yard requirement of 7.5 meters to be reduced to 6 meters to allow for a larger rear yard, larger rear yards. That's in respect to multiple lots. So of course, as always, we can approve the variation application or we can deny the variation application. The background, as you see before you, is that Melco Developments is applying for a variation order to allow the front yard requirement of 7.5 meters to be reduced to 6 meters to allow for larger rear yards and to keep the area consistent with other developments in the area. As you can see, there's been a number of applications that have been applied for and received variations for similar requests. The building is in an R1 residential single-family zone. The application has been circulated to the various city departments. There have been no concerns. Public notices have been sent to all property owners within a 100-meter radius, and as well, there's been no concerns. So it's the administrative recommendation, and I so move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the variation request of Melco Developments Limited to vary the front yard requirement of 7.5 meters to be reduced to 6 meters to allow for larger rear yards and to keep the area consistent with other developments in the area. The property known as lots number 35, 33, 25, 23, 21 Melco Drive, which is legally described as lots 30, 31 and 35, 36, Block 1, Plan 53601, and Lot 1, Block 2, Plan 55015 in the parish of Portage la Prairie.
Moved by Councillor Meyer and seconded by Councillor Buds. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. We'll open the public hearing for conditional use PC 9-20. This is for Dean Dubois at 330 Saskatchewan Avenue West. Is there anyone here to speak to the hearing? Conditional use PC 920. Anyone here to speak to the hearing? Need a motion to close the hearing?
Be it resolved, and I so move that the public hearing for conditional use PC 920 for Dean Dubois at 330 Saskatchewan Avenue West now be closed.
Moved by Councillor Meyer and seconded by Councillor Buds. All those in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, so this one is for the conditional use, and Council, you'll receive the report in front of you. Once again, from the Planning and Economic Development Committee, is to allow a shipping container to be installed on the property for fireproof, dry, and secure storage. Alternatives, of course, are to approve the conditional use as presented, to approve the conditional use with conditions, or to deny. Bit of the background, Dean Dubois has applied for a conditional use to allow a shipping container to be installed on the property for fireproof, dry, and secure storage. This is not unlike a number of similar conditional uses that we've approved in the past. Dean is in a C3 Avenue commercial zone. We have approved him in a C3 Avenue commercial zone before and in a C2 Central commercial zone as well. The application was circulated to various city departments with no concerns. Public notices have been sent to all property owners within a 100-meter radius, and there have been no objections. So, it's the administrative recommendation, and I so move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the conditional use application of Dean Dubois to allow a shipping container to be installed on the property for fireproof, dry, and secure storage in a C3 Avenue commercial zone at the property 330 Saskatchewan Avenue West, which is legally described as lots 5 and 8, Plan 18 in the parish of Portage la Prairie.
Moved by Councillor Meyer and seconded by Councillor Buds. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor? And that's carried. We'll open the public hearing for variation order PC 10-20. This is for Dean Dubois at 330 Saskatchewan Avenue West. Is there anyone here to speak to the hearing? PC 1020 for Dean Dubois. Again, anyone here to speak to the hearing? Entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Be it resolved, and I so move that the variation order for conditional use PC 1020, Dean Dubois for 330 Saskatchewan Avenue West, now be closed.
Moved by Councillor Meyer and seconded by Councillor Buds. All those in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, Council, what you'll see is actually a second part. We just previously approved the conditional use, so this is now a request for variation involving the same placement of a shipping container. So the issue, of course, is to vary the following. It's the side yard requirement of 4.6 meters to be reduced to 3 meters, and the rear yard requirement of 7.5 to be reduced to 2.43 meters. Once again, alternatives to approve or to deny. The background, Dean Dubois is applying for a variation order to vary the following. Side yard requirement of 6.5 meters to be reduced to 3 meters, and the rear yard requirement of 7.5 to be reduced to 2.43 meters to allow for replacement of a shipping container. We have approved similar requests in the past in a C3 Avenue commercial zone, and you can see where the approval was there and the minutes attached to it. As we just said, this building's in a C3 Avenue commercial zone. There's also sketches there for your enjoyment. It basically shows exactly what needs to be done. The application has been circulated to the various city departments. There have been no concerns, and public notices have been sent to all property owners within a 100-meter radius. And as you can see, there's been no objections. So it's the administrative recommendation, and I so move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the variation request of Dean Dubois to vary the following. Side yard requirement of 4.6 meters to be reduced to 3 meters, and a rear yard requirement of 7.5 meters to be reduced to 2.43 meters, to allow for placement of a shipping container at the property known as 330 Saskatchewan Avenue West, which is legally described as lots 5 and 8, Plan 18 in the parish of Portage la Prairie.
Moved by Councillor Meyer and seconded by Councillor Buds. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Our last hearing was canceled, so we're going to move right into committees. First up is Finance, Legislative and Property Committee. Councillor Buds, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have nothing to report under my committee. A few items in new business, but nothing here. Thanks.
Thank you. City Planning and Economic Development, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. The City Planning and Economic Development Committee has nothing to report.
Thank you. Community Services Committee, Councillor Draycott.
Thank you, Your Worship. This evening, our first item in community services is we have the appointment of the Municipal Noxious Weed Inspector and Sub-Inspectors. And so the report comes to us this evening as it is a requirement of the Noxious Weeds Act that every municipality annually by March 1st appoints a municipal noxious weed inspector and or sub-inspectors and notify Crop Industry Development of Manitoba Agriculture of the appointments. These appointees carry out the provisions of the Noxious Weeds Act. Mr. Brian Taylor, Superintendent of Public Works, will once again be appointed the City Inspector for 2020, and Lionel Brown and Adam Carpenter will again be appointed sub-inspectors. And so it is the administrative recommendation that in accordance to Section 11 of the Noxious Weed Act, the Council of City of Portage la Prairie appoint Brian Taylor as the City's Noxious Weeds Inspector and Lionel Brown and Adam Carpenter as sub-inspectors. And further to that, notice of these appointments be conveyed to Manitoba Agriculture. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Draycott and seconded by Councillor Espy. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor? And that's carried.
And then just for information for council, we did have 2 presentations last committee meeting. So Discovery Patch Plan is there along with the presentation that they provided for us and the Heritage Committee presentation on the natural interpretive signs that was presented to us as well for the possibility of adding interpretive signs around Crescent Lake. And so those are just both for information for council to see again if they wish to go through them. And that's everything from my committee this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Draycott. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Wall.
Waterworks Committee has nothing to report this evening, Your Worship.
Thank you. Transportation Committee, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Worship. Just the one item is the 2019 Solid Waste Annual Report for information only. And committee has reviewed that report.
Thank you. And Public Safety Committee, tonight Councillor Wall for Councillor Knox.
Yes, Your Worship. I don't think there's anything out of the ordinary in this information report. The only question I had, perhaps through you to Director of Public Safety, is the increase in the number of calls to animal control year over year has gone from 582 to 884 in 2019. I wonder if there was a reason for that or if it's just progressively more calls.
It is a good question. I'm not sure exactly why that number is up. I believe that people are complying, but I think a lot of it is possibly the cat population that is out there that probably has the major factor for it.
Thank you. That's all I have, Your Worship.
You had a question, Councillor Buds?
Yeah, so when Councillor Knox was here, this was a fourth quarter report that was basically requested to be withdrawn, and administration was going to go back, and now it's submitted on a revised format, and I think it was to address some of the, potentially the parking revenue. And so I was just looking to see if there's any additional information needed through administration or the Director of Public Safety on that item.
Mr. Carpenter, would you like to comment on that?
Yes, for sure. In reference to the annual report for our money deposits, it was substantially low, being I think originally reported at 66,000. Now it's at 85,000, and because of that number, me and Nathan had a meeting with the management, with the Corps Commissioner, and it's been determined that we have a major problem with our coin counting machine to begin with. So these are the actual numbers that was deposited in our bank account, where the other numbers that were presented before were what our coin counting machine was telling them. So that was the major concern that's been rectified. And definitely we have a certain degree of issue with our parking meters. So that money count as well is down. You'll notice that the February month had no deposit, but you'll also notice the April month had a substantial deposit. So I guess what we're trying to say there, that there was probably not some monies deposited and then deposited later in that year. So after review of it all, again, we're satisfied with what they came up for justification on the report.
Sorry, was there another question, Councillor Meyer? Did you have a question?
No,
Nope.
no, sorry, Worship, no, I didn't. Scratch my eye.
Okay. Okay, if there's no more questions, we'll move into new business. First piece of new business is the PRED agreement, and this is Finance Legislative Property Committee. Councillor Buds.
Thank you. Just a little bit of cleanup here. We are looking at considering extending the agreement between the city and the RM and Central Plains Incorporated operating as PRED. And so just some background, in 2019, the PRED Board of Directors by resolution made a decision to seek an extension on their current funding agreement made between these parties. And that agreement is valid for a term of 5 years, and it commenced in 2015 in May. And it was to end this April. And so we do have that attachment for the reference for the council. But we're looking to make an amendment or addendum to that to extend it to the end of this year, December 31st, 2020. And should this request be approved, this will allow both municipalities the adequate time required to discuss a new agreement that aligns with their vision for economic development. This is not an item, I know, as I sit on the PRED board, we are also going into strategic planning discussions as well. So just looking for a little bit more time to ensure some alignment, and that leads to the end of this year. So as a recommendation of the committee, and I so move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the extension of the funding agreement to the end date of December 31st, 2020.
Moved by Councillor Buds and seconded by Councillor Espy. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. And the next item is also yours, Councillor Buds.
Thank you. So whenever we have the opportunity to apply for granting funds, we do that, and I'd like to applaud management administration for finding these sources and to continue to look for areas. So we're really just approving an application to apply for funding, and it's to deal with the accessibility improvements that were recently completed for City Hall, or the plan for those. The study itself provided a cost estimate of $23,620 for fees to prepare design drawings and specifications for the accessibility upgrades that were recommended. And so this is under the Heritage Resources Conservation Grant, and the funding under this program falls into 5 sub-programs, and so they're listed there. But the project costs to a maximum of $5,000. So that's really what we're looking to do. And so you can see how it's all broken down in terms of the total design costs, our grant, and then the city's share. And so we were planning for this, and so that's why in 2020 we did actually allot our portion of these of this study, I guess, to $18,620. Was already accounted for in our general reserve funds. So it is a recommendation of the committee, and I so move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie authorize administration to apply to the Province of Manitoba Heritage Resources Conservation Grant for funding in the amount of $5,000.
Moved by Councillor Buds and seconded by Councillor Espy. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor? And that's carried. We have no old business this evening, so council is adjourned at 6:57 p.m. and we're going to move right into committee. Call committee to order at 6:57 p.m. And first up is Finance Legislative Property Committee. Councillor Buds, please.
Thank you. Your committee has nothing to report.
Thank you. City Planning and Economic Development, Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Worship. You know, it's always an exciting time. Anytime we get to see the planning district building permits, I'm just going to point out that I do understand last year was a record year, and I don't think we have any illusions that this year is going to be the same. But that said, for the first month, we are double where we were last year at this time. So maybe it might be 400 million next year. No, I'm kidding. With that said, most of the stuff did take within the city, and we'll file it as a report at next council meeting unless there's any questions. And that is the end of my report, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Meyer. Community Services Committee, Councillor Draycott, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Nothing for community services this evening.
Thank you. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Wall.
Yes, Your Worship. I have a report for information only on the water pollution control facility upgrading status. For over 10 years, the City of Portage la Prairie has been preparing for the upgrading of the water pollution control facility, which will result in phosphorus and nitrogen being removed from the city's wastewater prior to discharge into the Assiniboine River. Currently, these nutrients eventually flow into Lake Winnipeg, and they promote the development of blue-green algae blooms, which deplete oxygen in the lake, necessary for other life such as fish, and which also release toxic chemicals. On August 2nd, 2019, the federal government announced the approval of the city's application for funding of the water pollution control facility upgrading as a public-private partnership arrangement, also known as Design, Build, Finance, Operate, and Maintain project. On February 18th, 2020, the Premier of Manitoba announced the province's commitment to the project. The city has not yet signed a tripartite funding agreement with the federal and provincial governments, but the agreement is being developed. To demonstrate its commitment, the city is proceeding with the project in advance of this agreement being formally ratified. A request for proposals for engineering services to lead the upgrading project was issued in late January and will close February 28th. Solicitations for other project advisors, including financial and legal advisors, will be issued in March. And that's my report.
Thank you, Councillor Wall. Transportation Committee, Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Transportation Committee has nothing to report.
And thank you. And Councillor Wall for Public Safety again.
Yes, Your Worship, nothing to report.
And before we close, our youth councillor, did you have anything to report to council?
Thank you. Nothing to report.
Thank you. Then committee is adjourned at 7 p.m.